Hi, welcome back to In the Pews with Bob and Darcy. I'm Darcy.
And I'm Bob.
And this week we want to talk about Advent, which is the church season that is upon us now. We want to know what it is, what its history is, and why we celebrate it. Bob?
Well, the word Advent itself comes from a Latin word which means coming, and during the season of Advent we are looking at the coming of Christ, both in the past as well as the way Christ comes to us today and the way Christ will come to us in the future. It wasn't a celebration in the church until about the 4th century. It's not a biblical celebration, so it was a newer celebration to the church. And when it began in the 4th century, it really was a time of preparation for baptisms on Epiphany, which is January 6th. And it really didn't become a celebration of readying ourselves for the coming of Christ until about the 6th century. And then it became the 4 Sundays before Christmas up until Christmas Eve, which is the season that we now celebrate as Advent.
Right, and many of us are comfortable with that celebration of Advent, the Advent candle wreaths and the 4 Sundays and the Christmas carols you might sing at your own places of worship. But when the split of churches happened between the Western Church and the Eastern Church, it was the Eastern Church that kept that original spirit of penance, and that is how they practice Advent. They don't call it Advent, they call it Nativity Fast, and it was a practice of penance and abstinence, and it was practiced for 40 days, similar to Lent. So in the Eastern tradition, Advent looks a lot more like Lent, and now in the present, the Westernized church has changed it to a bit more of a celebration, and then we do our penance near Lent.
Yeah, and where it was a season of penance, especially in the Protestant tradition, it became more a season of preparation. We are preparing ourselves for the coming of Christ once again at Christmas. So it's a preparatory time, it's an anticipatory time, if you will, of getting ready to welcome Christ back into our lives, back into our hearts as we celebrate the birth at Christmas. So that incarnational celebration is what really drives us now, and it's preparing ourselves for it that makes the season very special.
So if you're a person who identifies with the Christian faith, we urge you to do the spiritual work, the spiritual preparation that takes place in Advent, because for so many of us, our culture tells us Advent's a time of shopping and getting ready for your Christmas parties and doing a lot of physical and tangible to-dos. But the work that Advent truly calls us to is spiritual work. It's preparing our hearts and our minds and our souls for accepting Jesus into our lives once again. So I hope that you can do that work. I know we'll be working on it.
Yeah, and we wish you a very happy Advent.
Happy Advent. See you next week.
Bye-bye.